This is lesson number 1 for financial literacy. I want to share with you the story of Rich and Abel. So, basically what we have here is we have two characters. We have Abel, we have Rich. I want you to be like Rich. You've heard be like Mike. This is be like Rich. So at the end of my videos, you always see me go, be rich. This is what I'm talking about. I want you to be like Rich, and I'm going to share with you some of the differences between Rich and Abel. So, Rich and Abel work at the same job. They have the same income. And I have a lot of people that will say, well, that income, maybe that seems high for you. Well, it's not the number that matters. For some of you, you may say, well, that seems low to me. That's not enough money. Well, it's not the number that matters here, okay? What matters is how they choose to spend their money. So in this scenario, Rich and Abel are earning $5,000 a month, all right? And again, the number of how much they're earning or how less they're earning is not necessarily what matters in this situation. What matters is they both earn the same amount of money, and they're going to choose to spend their money in different ways. So let's start out with Abel, and let's look at how Abel spends his money. He earns $5,000 a month. He's got to pay taxes on that money. So taxes are coming out of his paycheck. Here's where Abel and Rich differ, and we're going to look at that. But Abel saves nothing. He spends $1,500 a month on a house payment. He spends $500 a month on a car. Insurance, kids, food, utilities, miscellaneous. There's other things that you could say, but this is his budget. This is Abel's budget. Now, the key here is that he saves nothing. All right? The biggest difference between Rich and Abel is that Rich saves money. So here we're looking at Rich's monthly budget. He brings in $5,000 a month. He's paying his taxes. Same number as what Abel paid here. But he takes $500 a month and he saves it. But now, because he's saving $500 a month, he has $500 less to spend on this stuff. So you have to say, well, where is he spending less? Well, Abel is spending $1,500 a month on a house payment, and Rich is spending $1,200 a month on his house payment. So there's $300 of that $500. And then car. Well, Abel's spending $500 a month on his cars, whereas Rich is spending $300 a month on his cars. So there's the other $200. Now, we said that everything else here is the same. In reality, there are a couple of things here that may be cheaper for Rich because he has a more modest home and because he has a more modest car. He may be paying a little bit less for insurance. He may be paying a little bit less for utilities, but we're trying to kind of keep it the same, if you will. So, as a result, you've got to look at a few things. First, let's look at Abel's house and his car. If you look at his house, he's got a much nicer home, and he drives a much nicer car. You look over here, and Rich has a more modest home and drives a more modest car. By the world standards, most people would look at look at Abel and say, well, Abel's rich. Why? Because look at his house, look at his car. He must be rich, right? Well, we're going to look at some scenarios and we're going to discuss, well, who is rich, all right? So I've got some what ifs for you. Let's start with a job loss, all right? Let's say that Abel has been doing this for 2 years and Rich has been doing this for 2 years. And 2 years down the road, they lose their job. All right? So let's look at Abel. The first thing we're going to look at is we're going to say, all right, are there any expenses that we could eliminate because we no longer have a job? Right? Well, if you're no longer bringing in income, you don't have income taxes that you have to pay. So we could eliminate that $1,000 income tax. Well, would we be able to eliminate the house payment? No, we still got to make that. What about the car payment? No, we've still got to make that. Insurance? Nope, still got to pay that. And if we go down this list, there may be some ways that we could minimize our expenses, but for the most part, Abel is still going to have to come up with about $4,000 a month to maintain his lifestyle, right? Okay, how's he going to cover that? How's he going to pay for that $4,000 budget? And the answer is he's probably going to go into debt. He's going to have to figure out a way. Maybe he takes and puts groceries and utilities and kids' activities and other things like that on the credit card. Well, if he gets a job a month down the road, 2 months down the road, maybe 3 months down the road, he's accumulated new debt. So when he does get that job, he's got these expenses plus a new expense of the debt that he's got to pay off from that time period when he lost his job, right? Well, let's go over here to Rich, okay? If Rich were to lose his job, well, 2 years down the road, he's been saving $500 a month. 500 times 12 is 6,000. 6,000 times 2 years is 12,000. So he's saved $12,000 of principal. If he's invested it, he's probably earned some interest on that as well. But he's got at least a principal amount of $12,000. Well, are there expenses that he could eliminate? Well, he doesn't have to pay taxes if he's not earning income, and he doesn't have to put $500 a month into savings if he's not earning income. So Rich actually has a budget of $3,500 that he has to come up with each month. Where is he going to get it? He's going to get it from the money that he has saved over those 2 years. He's not going to accumulate debt. So who has a greater ability to deal with a job loss? Rich or Abel? Should be obvious at this point that Rich has a greater ability to deal with that scenario. Okay? Let's do a new scenario. Let's say that an investment opportunity was presented to both Rich and Abel. So, we've all watched Shark Tank. Somebody comes in, they pitch an idea. They say, hey, if you'll give me $20,000, I'll give you 20% ownership in my company. Abel looks at that opportunity and thinks, what a great opportunity, but what's the only answer that Abel can give? Let's say that he's been doing this now for 5 years. 5 years down the road, this is presented to him. His only answer is no. He can't take advantage of that opportunity because he has no money to invest. That is not financial freedom. This is financial freedom. Rich can say yes, or he can say no. That's freedom. You have a choice. Okay? And you say, well, how is that? Well, he's been doing $500 a month times 12 months is $6,000 a year. Times that by 5 years, he's put at least $30,000 of principal into investments. Now, has that earned some interest? Well, I hope so, right? But he has $30,000 that he has saved up to be able to say, well, sure, I like this idea. So if he says yes, he moves forward with the deal. If he says no, well, let's look for another opportunity perhaps later on down the road. But that is what financial freedom is. It's the ability to have that choice, right? So let's say that Rich does that deal. Well, he gives $20,000 to his friend. His friend then takes that money, starts a new business. Year one, the business makes a $0 profit. How much does Rich get? He gets 0. He owns 20% of the company, but 20% of 0 is still 0. Year two, that new business makes $0 profit. How much does Rich get? He gets 0. All right, year three, the business has kind of got off the ground and starting to go. And year three, the company makes a $50,000 profit. How much does Rich get? He gets $10,000 of that profit. Year four makes another $50,000 of profit. Okay, how much of that does Rich get? 20% ownership. He gets $10,000. So now after year four, he's just broke even. He hasn't made any return on his investment. So Is that a good investment? Well, it depends on what year 5 looks like, what year 6 looks like. If in year 5 that company makes a $100,000 profit, he gets $20,000. He's doubled his money in 4 or 5 years, right? And so that's a great investment opportunity. So if we look at those scenarios, you say, who can better deal with a job loss? Who has a better opportunity for that investment? This is where I say, hey, be rich.